That was a great conversation, Melissa. Who do we have next?
Okay, thanks, Tamara. Yes, so really, two great, inspiring ladies have gone so far, and we have a lot more to come, so which is excellent. So, for this third workshop, I am personally interested in hearing because I'm a huge fan of TV and movies. So, when I saw this, I was like, wow, can't wait to hear about it. And maybe Subhash will tell us a bit about some of the celebrities he's met. But what's also great about this session is that we have one of our many male allies joining us here today. So, Subhash Bhatt. He is the country manager for production safety for Netflix in India, and he's going to share more about safety in film and TV. So Subhash is a chartered health and safety practitioner from the Institute of Occupational Safety and Health and a fellow of the International Institute of Risk and Safety Management. He's a qualified health and safety professional with 16 plus years of experience in managing and developing health and safety in various sectors like construction, petrochemicals, renewable energy, corporate, data centers, R&D centers, and now the entertainment business. Subhash has supported businesses to achieve their safety goals in ASPAC, United Kingdom, and a few regions of Europe. So he's currently said the lead for Netflix India, and is looking after Netflix portfolio of films, documentaries, and series productions. So welcome, Subhash, and thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Melissa. Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome you all in this session. Just wanted to check if you guys can see my screen.
Not yet. Seeing your video.
All right.
Yeah, now seeing your screen.
Right, I'll go presentation mode, so I'll switch off my video for some time. So first of all, I want to welcome everyone of you for this session, and let's begin our session. So before I start with the presentation and the session, I would like to just give some background how I've transited through like construction industry to film industry. Actually, I have always been curious about films and Bollywood, so I was passionate about the sector and wanted to learn more. So I have joined a theater group part-time along with my health and safety full-time role. It was some time back, and initially I've started with helping the theater group behind the stage and doing some production work. And after a year, I got opportunity to do small performances, and from there I found it more interesting, and I've started performing on stage. And I have done theater for around 7 years. Along with that, I got few opportunity to do TVC as well as some digital ads as an actor. So when I used to be on set, I always used to like go paranoid looking at health and safety standards on set, because at least in Bollywood, they are not very well versed about the health and safety regulation and the practices. So when I got opportunity from Netflix to join, I mean, I could not say no, because here passion and profession was coming to me in one bundle offer. And I know it will also have an opportunity to learn more and like kind of integrity of film industry, and as well as whatever I have learned in past years to share that with the people working in the production. So that's how I got into, say, Indian film industry. So when we're talking about filmmaking, so obviously the meeting of creative vision and the impactful storytelling and technique expertise, the filmmaking is actually a visual storytelling and a production of film series for cinema, or nowadays you can even say OTT platforms. And when we talk about films production, we have 5 stages in this. One is called development stage, when actually idea is created and screenplay is written. And then we talk about pre-production, where all the finances are sorted out. Then project is greenlit based on the finances. Then crew and cast are hired, locations are selected, and even we can say set construction is done. The third stage comes is production, when actually a film happens, and it's recorded, and it's given to post production, which is next stage, where like sounds, visual effects, and record whatever we recorded during our production stage being edited. And then final stage is distribution. The final film is like distributed and screened in cinema or OTTs. So this is just a basic background of filmmaking. So when we're talking about health and safety point of view, what can go actually wrong on a film set or a film production? So when I think about it, it could be anything. So I think that's the major difference between entertainment industry or any other sector. So if I'll give you example, if there is a scene in any script that the person has to commit suicide and he has to fall from first floor, right? So you have prepared the risk assessment, everything is done, all the safety procedure in place, you have trained people. But when actually go on set, there might be a creatively challenge. Director might say, okay, what I thought it's not coming properly, let make that jump from 11th floor. So it's a quite a challenging to prepare everything in that short duration and train people again, find out a different kind of risk, what could happen, which was not there at first floor, but now it will be at 11th floor. So this is just one of the example. And when we talk about background and history of the cases, I have highlighted few cases over here, what has happened in the past. For example, if you look at number one of the like stunt double, he was doing one aerial shoot on like Harry Potter and Deadly Hollows, where he like fell from height and got paralyzed for life. And also one of the scene, he like was performing an explosion stunt where he got injured again. And one of the, if you see Hangover again, there was a one stunt man, he was doing a stunt and he like popped out his head out of taxi, but he could not see other stunt vehicle which hit to his head. And this was one of the very famous stunt which happened in MI6, when it was all over the news as well, when Tom Cruise got injured, even though everything is in place as planned, and he got ankle injury. Again, one of the stunt in Bulgaria, one stuntman killed another, was left critical condition during one explosion of the boat. So that was expendable too. And like last year, 2020, somewhere around March in Indian film industry, they were doing one scene where crane got toppled, where 3 people was dead on spot, and like around 9 to 11 people got injured. So these are the some cases. If you look over the web, you'll find a lot of information around it. And when we are I've also posted one hashtag, right? Slate for Sarah. If you look for this on web, this was also very great case studies to read about film incidents. So this was somewhere near Georgia, when a person like got crashed on the track. So please read about this when you get opportunity. These cases are like, was a very like eye opener for all over the world film industry. And when we're talking about the film and television industry, is actually a unique business and such like present unique health and safety hazards. And safety in film and television world is very diverse. So an incident on set, I mean, we always talk about retake of a scene, but if any incident happens, we can't retake that, right? And when we talk about losses, it's huge. Like if I give you example, everybody is familiar with when you're talking about series Game of Thrones, right? So each production day cost like 300,000 USD. So we can imagine in terms of economic also what could be the loss if anything happens on that day. And just to give you one whole idea about the entertainment industry, how big it is, as per the like stats of 2019, the global turnover of this film industry was around 100 billion, and OTT alone it was around 58 billion globally. And on an average, every year, this industry produced 6,000 films. That excludes series, documentaries, even unscripted shows that could be like stand-up comedy or reality show. So however, it goes right many more times that it goes wrong, and safety people in the industry are part of how is the case. So basically, we have very limited resource in the industry at that time. So whatever is going right, and we are spreading awareness, changing the mindset of people, and it's more of changing the safety culture. When we're talking about common hazard in the industry compared to other industries, these are very common. Like for example, working at height, we have studios where we while doing the set construction, there are a lot of height works. There are a lot of stunts. During stunts, we perform the height works. Then electrical safety is also one of the challenge because we use huge lights on our sets. Then again, other equipment, we might be using digital generators when we are shooting off locations. And fire hazard is also one of the very critical. Recently in Bollywood, there was one film was happening, and first day of the shoot, due to fire incident, the whole set construction got burned. So they had to halt the production of film, and I mean it's still on halt unless new set is constructed. Then again, manual handling is also one of the biggest challenge because we have at least each production at least 200 crews, and how they manage their work day to day, how they transfer their equipment, that also a big challenge. And then comes to health hazard, which are very specific to location and weather conditions. uh, it could be we also use chemicals on in certain areas and depend on the scene as well. We have molds, we have asbestos in certain locations. So these are some common example of safety hazard in the industry. And when we're talking about film specific, I have listed a few examples here. We do a lot of stunts and special effects. Specifics, say using chemicals to like show smoke, some fire scene we are doing, or stunt jumping from the building, jumping from the cliff, car crash, etc. And we also have minor in action sequence. So we have to be really, really careful when we especially using minors in action sequence. Otherwise, also when minors on set, that goes for extra precaution, because as we know, kids are very curious and they want to know each and everything. So that goes a little extra. And when we're talking about working with drones or aerial shoot, that also come up with extra hazard, while we need to take a lot of permits while using drones, and depends on the which terrain we are shooting. Working with animals also need a lot of regulation. We have to get a lot of permits from different authorities before working with animals. We need to make sure the person who's animal instructor on set, and I mean it goes long way. And one of the biggest challenge what I have seen in industry is fatigue, because this industry works around the clock, and say minimum anybody will be working on set is like for 12 hours to 16 hours, which is really sad. But then again, we need to look at how we need to give them the work breaks and schedule breaks. And because of scene demands, it might happen at night, it might happen in the morning, it might happen anytime during the day. So that is a very challenging again when we're talking about fatigue. So challenges, I was talking about challenge and opportunity. What we have in the film industry are, first is health and safety maturity in the industry. It depends on region to region and country to country. For example, US, Canada, Australia, UK, they have very robust health and safety regulation. And the safety standard in developed countries are also very robust. But when we're talking about developed countries, for example, APAC, India, the safety maturity is at very, very low level. So it's our job, we are getting into it to train people to change their mindset about health and safety. And one more challenge is health and safety regulation. Developing country, they do not have many health and safety regulations. So if I give example of India, we do have like strict regulation when we're talking about factories, manufacturing area, construction sector, but there is not a single health and safety regulation when we're talking about health, film industry. So that's another challenge for us to talk to our partners and create a safety culture when we are going forward. And one more challenge when we are looking at, and this is a challenge as well as an opportunity, we see there's a lot of shortage of health and safety professional in the industry, not only in India, but at global level. So either we get people from health and safety background, but no experience in film industry, or we get production people, but no background in health and safety. So it's very difficult to find people who has both the background, but again, it's up to us how we need to train them. Like for example, bring on health and safety people and train them about production integrity, what actually goes behind the production, what are the different stages, what are the different roles and responsibility in the industry, so they can give correct advice based on the situation when it demands. So for a successful show, we have certain steps what we need to do. These are very, very basic, but very important. Like when we go at planning stage as a health and safety professional, we also have to read the script. For example, if I give you example, in the UK for construction industry, we have CDM 2015 for design stage, right? So it's something like that, safety by design or safety through script. So we read through the script and we understand which scene has any critical stunts or any critical hazard which might impact health and well-being of people and environment working in that area. So we prepare first risk assessment based on our script. Then second stage, when it comes to scouting, basically before any movie starts, for the location selection, the recce, or we can say scouting, is done by the production team, and it is accompanied by the health and safety professionals as well. So the person can highlight and observe the location in terms of if in case any health hazard or any safety hazard, how was the structure of the area, is there any water body in surrounding area. So these all due diligence is done. Then again, second stage of risk assessments are developed based on the location due diligence. Then we also plan on distributing roles and responsibility to the people based on their hierarchy on the production. Like for example, a showrunner of the film, what is his roles and responsibility? HODs, head of departments of different areas, what are their roles and responsibilities when it comes to health and safety? For example, art department, lighting department. So their responsibility is to take care of their people working in their zone. And that's how it goes on. Then second stage, when it comes to, is a development stage, when we work with our partners and develop health and safety plans for the production. Then we develop location specific emergency action plans. Why I'm saying this? Because it might differ to state, and even regulation might change state to state. A lot of time we are also shooting internationally, even that country specific regulation might change. So that's why health and safety plan and location, the emergency action plan, are based on location as well, and it keep updating. Then it comes to risk assessment. When we go on set, we work with people and interact with different department in case if they have any inputs to develop the risk assessments. And before we perform any stunts, we have to prepare a stunt plans. We have to sit with stunt directors and understand what is their method of statement of performing this particular task. Then we take input from people who are going to perform the task. Along with stunt plans, we also develop stunt risk assessment, which is very specific to the stunt which are going to be performed. When it comes to delivery, we make sure that health and safety trainings are conducted for each and every crew working on the set, including cast of the team, and also brief them about what are the risks associated with the day. So what we do is we prepare the risk assessment and we make sure that the risk assessment is part of the call sheet. So I'll just give you what little bit of background what call sheet is. Call sheet is actually a document which has complete brief about what is going to happen tomorrow, which is circulated a day in advance to all the cast and crew members. What time is the report? What is the reporting time? Where they're going to shoot? What time is the lunch break, etc. Everything will be mentioned at that. What scene will be performing at what time? So if people are know this scene is performed and this risk assessment is associated with this scene, so that way we also inform the crew about the risk associated with the task. And also before they start the work next day, the briefing is given by the different department heads, we call HODs. And to make sure things are happening regularly as planned, we observe on set. Also, we highlight to our partners, okay, if something goes wrong, to attend that immediately. And we also conduct a health and safety routine inspection. We encourage them to report if they find any health and safety near miss or any incident on set. So we make sure that it's corrected and not repeated again, and revisit to adapt to creative needs. So for example, I'll give you an example of construction. Like for example, if you're working on a construction project for say 2 years, and there are need of client that there might be some changes, right? So if there are some changes, you might get a revised drawing from your designers, and the older one you might be superseding it. So this is how it goes on film also. So there are possibility of, because of some scene demands, the script might change at some time. So that's why we need to revisit the revised script. So make sure that we are well aligned with the risk associated with the script. So these are the some steps we are working on right now. So this is all from me, just basic understanding and brief of what actually goes behind the film industry and film entertainment industry. So if you guys have any question, I'm open to it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Subhash, for that. I think for me, what you shared emphasizes why I personally love being in health and safety, because it's in every industry, right? In every business. And I think it also emphasized that, we see that awful statistics around 2.8 million people per year die due to workplace fatalities or occupational illnesses. So I think what we do as health and safety professionals is so critical.
Right.
Someone asked a question: what determines if an actor can do their own stunts?
So if, and I mean, it happens a lot of time, a lot of actors, if they are like want to do their own stunts, they have to go through proper stunt training. And they will, before performing any stunt, they go for the stunt training with the stunt directors and the person who is going to supervise it. It's always been supervised very closely. We also prepare risk, obviously risk assessment for the stunt, take actors through the risk, obviously based on the hierarchy of risk and what are the mitigation against those risks. And we train them about what to do in case something happens wrong, what are the PPEs, how to use those PPEs. So there is a workshop conducted before any stunt happens with the actor.
Okay, thanks. Malcolm's asked a really great question. How do you address diversity in health and safety in India? What are the challenges, especially for women in India?
So this is actually a very interesting question. When we are talking about health and safety in India, when I've started 15, 16 years back, I used to see only male people are getting into health and safety. And now, like with time, I've seen there's a lot of awareness around. I see a lot of female health and safety professionals are coming up. A lot of initially there was some challenges with respect to health and safety qualifications as well. So qualifications like IOSH and NIBOS coming globally, that also made a lot of changes and changed the mindset of people getting into the industry. So now I see a lot of changes happening around the globe, I think, but we still need to spread more awareness, change the mindset of people. This is, anybody can do this job, right? It's not only specific to one gender. Anybody can get into this profession as long as they understand how risk is evaluated and what could be the mitigation measures for those risks.
Thanks. And I kind of add on to that. So what can we do to support the health and safety professionals in India? Again, Dr. Asani gave some really good examples of what's being done in Pakistan. So, sorry, Sri Lanka, sorry. So what are things we can support and things like the Global Coalition help going forward?
I think going forward, we can, this is one of the very good example of we are conducting this session, and a lot of people are joining it and a lot of buzz on social media. People are curious what is happening around the world. So I think it's a very good time when we are very highly using social media and it's approachable to everybody. People are getting more aware now what is safety standard in other countries, what is happening in our countries. So that is also one learning platform. And IOSH is, I've been associated with IOSH from some time now. They have very great seminars on different topics on health and safety. There are different training programs which is conducted by IOSH as well. So there are a lot of opportunity in terms of learning. And I've been part of a lot of group, like for example, HSC Global Series, also one of very great platform to learn more about health and safety. We have great speakers coming from around the globe, sharing their experience in different sector, different industry, and showing them where people can join. For example, when we're talking about health and safety in film industry, in India, we do not have many people in India when we're talking about health and safety. So there's a huge opportunity for people from all the background who could show interest in this industry, learn more about the industry, and whatever they have learned in past from their different sector, bring in here and like try to change what could happen better for people.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And it's one of the things around collaboration and sharing. We talk about with health and safety, we don't want to be hiding or hoarding information. And so I think, as you said, with social media now and so many great networks, and even, one of the positives with COVID, not that COVID was a good thing, but I think the the insight we have is, things like this where we can do online now that I think, a year and a half, 2 years ago, we would not have had, 14, 15 different time zones on a call learning from each other. So I think that's a positive. So it's a great opportunity to be making that difference across the world to lift the profile and reduce that statistics. So Tamara is on. Tamara, any insights from the chats?
Yeah, so we have one person asking, have you ever witnessed any discrimination towards women in the stunt industry?
I mean, not really, because when we're talking about stunts in film and TV industry, the stunts for a female actors are generally performed by a female stunt woman, right? So I have not seen any kind of discrimination in film industry when we're talking about like related to women, but only shortfall I say is like the shortage of women in health and safety sector in India, across the industry, not only film industry. So I think that's where I think we might find a great talent if we look at in this area.
So would you say that women are treated the same, or is there a difference in how they're treated compared to their male counterparts?
Not really. Initially, I saw in my initial career days, I've seen that challenge in construction industry, because initially people used to say, okay, you are a woman, you can't go to a construction site, it's not safe for you. But slowly things are changing now because of global impact, and people are getting more aware. They know that this is not gender specific, it's just a mindset. So that need to be changed. But when we're talking about film industry, I've not seen any discrimination, because lot of creative side also I have seen lot of women coming in, and even in production management I've seen a lot of women are coming forward. So film industry wise I have not seen any discrimination at all, but initial days in construction I have seen that people used to think it's not safe for women.
Now let's look at the challenges for women who are doing health and safety in the film industry. What challenges have you seen them in entering into that area?
Actually, it's not women specific, but it could be for anybody. The challenge what I see is the industry knowledge. So anybody who is looking forward to switch it to film industry, they need to gain at least a little bit of knowledge what actually happens on the film sets. So there are a lot of information available online, like for example HSE UK, there's a lot of guidelines on health and safety in film industry. Then if you go to Canada government website, there are a lot of information available there. So before we get into this industry, it's best to get the production management knowledge, how a film production starts from start to end it completes, right? So if we have integrity knowledge of that area, so we can well align our health and safety knowledge with that, and we will be more effective to give advice as well.
So let's look at how do we influence production companies to put safety at the top of the agenda and make dynamic decisions that have safety at the heart?
So I'm also a believer of practice over process. So when we talk to our production partner, especially who are independent filmmaker, they have not heard much about health and safety. So our first aim is focusing on changing the mindset of theirs towards health and safety, train their HODs, health of departments working in different sectors on health and safety, and emphasize on practice over process. Like, we don't want people to just fill up a risk assessment if things are not happening on set. We are okay if everything is safe on set, and if you don't prepare a document, we tell them, okay, you tell us how it needs to be done, we will fill form for you, that's all right.
And so the last question that we have for you is, how open are production companies and the filmmakers to change based on safety reasons or recommendations?
And again, it again depends on what we are putting on there. Whenever we are sharing a recommendation and any say advice to our partners, we always back up with why we are also sharing this. It could not be a fault finder. It should be like, we are there to support you. So that if we go with that approach, it's always positive. We always tell them we are there to support you. In case you need anything, we are there to help you, to train your people on various safety point of view. And in case anything happens on a set, what would be the losses? Like, for example, if anyone get hurt on a film set, it could go like off filming for at least couple of weeks. And every day, like for example, if I'll give you a Hollywood scenario, 1 month film cost would around say 50 to 60 million dollars. So that's huge loss for them. And if we give them cost benefit analysis also, they will understand better in terms of business point of view. So definitely we have to give them different scenarios to convince them. So eventually we always hear positive words from them.
Good. Thanks so much, Subhash, for sharing that. It's very interesting, exciting industry. So great to see that, you know, safety is being considered, and, you know, the cost impact of not taking it seriously. So, and some really good clips there. I know the piece with Tom Cruise was all over for several weeks. So kind of emphasized even, you know, Tom Cruise and his stunt double, they have to ensure that they are taking safety higher on the agenda. So good. I think we're coming to the end of the morning sessions. So thanks again, Subhash, for being involved. Thanks to Dr. Sini and Trish. And I will hand over to Anne, who's going to close out our morning session. Thanks.
Thanks very much. A huge thank you to all of our morning speakers. I mean, it's been fascinating to hear all those different viewpoints and experiences of health and safety from across the eastern side of the world, from where we are in the UK anyway. We're slowly moving across the globe. So to kick us off, I mean, Dr. Hosseini, her presentation touched on those age-old scenarios, didn't it, of barriers to women going into the health and safety profession. The bias, the conflicting assumed priorities, you know, perhaps where women should be rather than in the workplace, that prevailing patriarchal attitude and the unwillingness to adapt the working environment for women, which I think is becoming increasingly a headline issue. But it also highlighted how women's inclusion can increase the productivity and the effectiveness. And in linking back to Malcolm Staves' video that we showed at the kickoff this morning, and how his team has seen really, really positive success as a result of being 50% female. So all plays into that agenda, and it's great that we can start recognising that now. And I loved, as we went on into Trish's presentation, loved hearing about her cave diving exploits. I mean, it's not even bare thinking about somebody who prefers cake diving to cave diving. It sounds altogether too energetic for me, but it really set the scene for her own experiences, as she said, and kind of put everything into context. I love how she explained how those feminine traits that we spoke about earlier are finding their way into process safety, which has traditionally been quite a male-orientated profession. And finding its way into the leadership aspects of process safety as well, how people are being recognised at being at the heart of health and safety success rather than a hindrance to it. I love the message about authenticity. I think we spoke about it after her presentation. And it's something that's really close to my heart. I think being yourself is daunting in many ways, laying yourself open. And she did reference imposter syndrome during her presentation, which is a live issue, very common amongst female leaders. And I think being authentic can sometimes bring that to the fore, because there's nowhere to hide in a way. But it's a recognised fact that people respond best to authenticity and to honesty and humility. And so bringing that out in your traits, in your leadership traits, is a really positive thing. And finally, as we've just heard Subhash's presentation, what a fantastic insight into the film and TV industry, not just in India, but across the world. When we're watching films at the cinema or in our living rooms, I think it's so easy to forget all the work that goes on behind the scenes to keep people safe. And Subhash gave us some sobering examples of where, despite everybody's best efforts, things are still going wrong, and sometimes fatally. It does show us that all the common health and safety issues are all very real hazards in the film and TV industry. Subhash referenced manual handling, that's very commonplace, electrical hazards and so forth. But safety practitioners in the industry also have to deal and adapt to new and emerging technologies, new and emerging risks, and short notice changes of plan as well during filming. So their approach has to be dynamic as well as measured. So I think all three of the speakers this morning have really given us something to chew on and to think about. And I know for me, I mean, I've many years in the industry myself, there's always something to learn from other people's experiences and from their roles and their careers. So it's been fantastic, and I hope you agree with that. Please leave your comments in the chat box. We'd love to hear from you, how you think it's going. You know, if you've got any questions that occur to you later, pop them in the chat box, and we'll come to them. We're here until 4:30 UK time, whatever that is for you. But we will shortly be heading towards a lunchtime break. Just before that, I'll hand back to Melissa and Tamara, who are going to take you through what's happening over lunch.
Great, Anne. Thank you. Hey, Melissa.
Yes, hi, Tamara. Had some technical difficulties in the background, sorted.
What a great morning we had. Great speakers, great comments out there from everybody. Just really everything has been on fire.
Yeah, totally agree. I think just hearing from the presenters so far, and we have 4 more to go, it just really is inspiring, just what people have been involved in, the difference they're making. And then what I love about the coalition, you know, I'm a true believer of collaboration and bringing best practices together. And just looking at the chat, you see people are connecting already and sharing LinkedIn profiles and connections on different programs. I saw something with Red Laces, and so this is just what we wanted to do, is sharing so that we can all improve across the world.
Yeah, no, talking about across the world, I heard that Louise had actually went on holidays to Sri Lanka. She was mentioning that, and that when she was there, she met with the executive committee of the WSHA. And I thought that was a really good way of showing the power of networking. And although Louise had to go there through an airplane, we are so lucky now that we can actually do this kind of networking and collaborating over the internet like we're doing today. So that's, you know, the power of networking. That's the theme here today.
Totally agree. Good. So I think over lunch, we are going to show a couple of video clips, as well as spend some time reflecting on the conversation so far. So I think we'll maybe pause for a few minutes to allow Elliot to hand over, to change over the screens. But people are welcome to stay on, of course, while you grab something to eat or drink, as applicable, depending on where you are in the world. And then Tamara and I will kick off into the lunchtime session. Does that work?
Well, I actually had it queued up on my screen, if you're okay.
You ready to go? Okay, well,
yeah.
Good. Once Elliot is good with us transitioning immediately.
Yeah, no. So we have this first one by Anne.
Hello, my name is Anne Isaacs, and I choose to challenge gender bias and inequality so that women of the future don't and won't have to.
So let me play that again.
Hello, my name is Anne Isaacs, and I choose to challenge gender biases and inequality so that women of the future don't and won't have to.
So that is one of the women who sent in, we called and asked people to be sending in videos. Do you remember that?
Yes, yes, and Anne Isaacs, who actually was on a session with Ayush yesterday. It was really a really powerful session. I know Louise was on it as well, and Bev Messenger, and so it was great for Anne to share with us her challenge, what she's choosing to challenge this year as part of International Women's Day.
So while I was surfing the net, I found this really good video share by Fumi and her group in Africa. So I wanted to share that also because I thought this was done so well. So let me get my screen up again. I'm not sure if people have seen this one, but it was done for Women's Day yesterday. So this is really good.
Fumi Adegbola, the president and founder of the Society of Women in Safety and Health Africa.
My name is JC Gomez, and I'm one of the executive directors for the first Society of Women in Safety, Health and Environment globally.
Welcome to International Women's Day 2021.
Hello, my name is Masoko Mesela Kwe from Botswana and member of SOSHI.
My name is Portia Adwoche Afri-Wandiwakon, and I am a woman in occupational health, safety and environment.
I'm a queer from Ghana. Fortunately for me, I'm part of the leadership team of SOSHI.
My name is Rosemary Bansenek and I'm a member of SOSHI. I'm Trosinge Dina, HSC manager from Cote d'Ivoire.
My name is Blessing Obuche. I'm a Nigerian and I hail from Benue State.
Hi, I'm Zamdazita Kumbakumba. I'm a HSC engineer from Tanzania.
My name is Ujunwa Okeke, QHSC specialist from Nigeria.
I'm a member of SOSHI. Happy International Women's Day.
It's clear that African women are excited about and are taking the world of health and safety by storm. We invite you to join us.
Thanks for sharing that, Tamara. I hadn't seen that one as yet, but Funmi is actually going to be speaking after lunch UK time. So I know I keep saying that I just love the opportunity to collaborate and connect with people, but I wasn't connected with Funmi on LinkedIn before. And then when I read her profile, I was like, wow, this woman is amazing. So I sent her a LinkedIn request, and just to be able to follow, see, the things she's involved in. And so I know I'm going to learn from her. So I'm looking forward to her session as well.
Yeah, I found that nugget yesterday. So that was really great.
Yeah, I know, that's good. I have a couple of things that one I wanted to just mention. I know I mentioned it to you, but I'll say it to the world here, right? In the last year, I've gotten obsessed with podcasts. So because we've been in lockdown and for some time I was working from home, the weather was good in the UK, so went on a lot of walks. And you, Tamara, have been in my head for about over a year, I have to say. Because I listened to your podcast as well, and it's just been inspiring. So it's been great to connect with you, and we're involved in a couple of things together, and it's just very inspiring. The things you do, the conversations you're supporting, you bring so many different people together to share. So I just wanted to give you a shout out. And it's so funny, I'm thinking about back in April when I'm walking and, I'm hearing Tamara, and now we're doing this session together. It's just been amazing.
Well, I have been looking at our thread on the hashtag One Wish, as I promised people, and we've got a lot of great stuff showing up there. I wanted to show a little bit of the thread as promised to people. So thank you so much. We have one person who is sharing that her and her kitty cat are actually watching us today. So that's very cool. I love animals. What about you, Melissa?
I have no pets. I have a fear of dogs. But in terms of the animal question, that's always fun. But no, again, great. I haven't gotten a chance to look through that, but it looks amazing that, again, we have this LinkedIn profile, LinkedIn page to continue to deepen those connections and share the great stories across the members of the coalition, the different networks, and all the supporters. So that's really good. I don't know if your question was about the animal. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at this thread and it's so exciting. So we have here our first speaker. And I really love this when she was sharing with us about gender justice cannot be done just by law alone, that it's actually it really depends on the view of society. And I thought that was just really hitting a key point that a lot of times we don't dive into and talk about.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I do think cultural aspects play an impact as well, right? So we talk about diversity and inclusion, and I think compared to 5-10 years ago, we're seeing more of the diversity element of it. It's now the inclusion piece, right? People's voice being considered, their input being considered, and some are more progressed than others, but I think it's becoming an expectation of organizations and countries that we will see that real step change sooner than later. You're on mute, Tamara.
She's right that it is about closing the gap, and we need to change the views and values. And that's a really hard thing to do in society. It would be really great to see in the chat stream people's ideas about how can we start taking those steps to change the views and the beliefs in our society. If you've got ideas, put them in the chat, because this is the kind of conversations that we want to network and talk about. And that's what we do in our Women in Safety Coalition that we're part of, don't we, Melissa?
Yeah, exactly. Great. I think we have a video sharing an example of one of the networks that's a part of the coalition that you'll be showing.
Yes, I do. Let me cue that up.
Hello everybody, and welcome to this update on women in health and safety in the UK. So Women in Health and Safety has been running since 2015 in the UK, and we have around 2,500 members of our LinkedIn group. In the past, prior to the pandemic, it was all about running physical events with our partner, SHP, Safety and Health Practitioner, and also Safety and Health Expo. However, the pandemic and also discussions with our partners have really shown us that the opportunity is to enlarge our mission, to really create opportunities for all sorts of aspects of female career development. So we now have a new relaunch committee. We have on that committee a number of work streams, and the first of those work streams is run by Amy Sadro, and Amy is responsible for events. So if you would like to run an event specific to women in health and safety, then please do contact Amy or myself for more information. You can find us on the LinkedIn group. The second of these is mentoring. We all know that mentoring is such an important aspect here. And we have a group run by Gillian Simcox looking at mentoring in the profession. The third is social media, so really allowing us to ensure that we take advantage of all those channels, and Chinwe Okeke is running a work stream in the area of social media. The fourth work stream we have is the getting young people into the profession, getting diversity in really, but this is specifically focused on schools, on universities, on how to make the profession more appealing, and Aoife Devaney is running that work stream with us. We have links into the international group through Anne Garden-Aston. We have Charlotte and Ian at SHP and at Safety and Health Expo really helping us to amplify female voices, providing a platform for you to speak on a subject you're passionate about. So thank you to all of you. Thank you to our partners. If you would like to join us, first of all, join our network on LinkedIn. That's the first thing. Look for Women in Health and Safety. You can also join our mailing list from within LinkedIn, or you can directly email me, heather@healthy-working.com, and I'll add you to our mailing list. We also have Facebook groups, we have, and we're growing our social media presence all the time. We'd love to have you part of us. Join us to support female career development in health and safety. Thanks, everyone.
That's good. So that's Heather, who's the chair of the UK Women in Health, Health and Safety Network. And there are several other networks that's part of the coalition. I just wanted to pull up the list. So I think Anne and Louise would have mentioned this, but we have representatives from CSSE, ASSP, SOCIE, CIEH, and as well as business members. So we had Subhash from Netflix, Lorenzo, who will be coming up later, from Arriva, etc. So again, widespread across the world, as well as male allies, which I think is very important.
So we do have Heather even in the audience, so that's really cool. And if people want to join Heather's network, she's actually put it in the chat so people can connect with her. I think it's a WordPress site. Is that right, Heather? She said that's where you can join their mailing list.
That's good.
So it's very exciting. We actually have some individuals who are part of the coalition in the chat right now, so people can use that to even connect. And I believe Louise is in there also. Either she's also in the conference and on the chat. Louise is everywhere.
Indeed, yes. Just going back to International Women's Day and the celebration yesterday. I was in a conversation with someone about, should it be only one day we celebrate? I know it's slightly different from what we were talking about. What's your views on that?
Well, what are people's views in the chat? Throw that at us. Should it be only one day to celebrate? What are people's thoughts on this? I would love to hear what people in the chat are thinking about this, Melissa.
Yeah. That's good.
Oh,
okay.
I mean, I think that we should be appreciating ourselves as much as we can, because, it takes time to grow and learn and develop.
I agree. I do think, yeah, it has to exist throughout the entire year, and it's going to be through the programs, the succession planning, everything in organizations, calling things out, etc. I do think the day is that pause and reflect on how things have been going. Because it was just a debate around, well, why why only call this out? Why not call out other things, etc. So I just think it was a good conversation, but we need to call it out. We need to pause on it and reflect.
And there's some comments coming in the chat. It's not a celebration, it's a focus. A great focus for celebration, Heather says. Every day is Women's Day. Yes, it's time to spotlight, but not just a day. So we're not just spotlighting a day, we're spotlighting a focus of bringing empowerment to those who in a lot of places in the world, Melissa, don't have the privileges and opportunities that we do have in other areas of the world. And so
agree.
I think this is also a way of collectively providing support to one another,
Totally agree.
you know. And I think also if you reflect, you know, a lot historically has been done in order to pave the path of where we've come to in this journey now. It wasn't just, you know, I was just speaking to a friend about this. It was in the 60s and 70s that people were still having a lot of struggles. I remember as a young woman coming into the workforce, and that would have been in 1990, where you know, there were certain roles that we could be doing, but it was still expected that we would still, you know, go and get married and then have children. So it wasn't a long career, it was just something to keep you busy until you got married. So although we've progressed greatly, it hasn't been that long ago since the change has been made. It'd be great to hear what people's thoughts are in the chat also.
Yeah, agree. And just maybe to reflect for myself, most of my career had been in oil and gas, and you know, worked offshore facilities and would have been the only female offshore. So it's really important to share the stories and the support. And you know, I know Heather in her network and many of the other networks talk about like mentoring. And it's always important that we see examples where we get the inspiration from. And you know, having a mentor, it helps the mentor as well as the mentee, but it's good to have people who we've heard their stories from and learn from. So I think mentoring is an important part of the networks as well.
Absolutely. And if we didn't have those women to be looking up of, at least when I was working, Shelley Schaefer and Valerie Parker, those women who helped really sculpt me about coming into your own. And there's been a lot of stigmas around that women before us have had to drive through, Melissa. So there's that also. And I think this is also a way that it's honoring those who have carved out and helped so much get us to where we are right now.
I agree. Yeah, see, Heather's posted here, only 50 years ago, a company I worked for was advertising for attractive single women aged between 18 to 25 who could work with professional men, could apply for a job. That really makes me realize how far we have come so quickly. So yeah, and I think we have a video from Malcolm as well, and we heard from Malcolm earlier on, and it's good to have, you know, male allies. I think, you know, I said that before, that's important, but also companies that have recognized the importance of having women networks as well. So as part of our global coalition, we also have those business partners where in their companies they have women network, and they will be connecting in with the coalition.
Yes, now we have a mutual friend, and he's been very, very supportive in a lot that we do. And I'm not going to mention who this person is yet, because I want to share with you something that he introduced me to. And I don't know if you know about this, the hummingbird. I will be a hummingbird. Have you heard about this one?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
And it's in a book that I recently read as well. So yes.
Okay, so I'm not sure if people in the chat have seen this before, but I fell in love with this. And so thank you to our good friend.
As they watch the forest burning.
Let me cue it up.
We are constantly being bombarded by problems that we face. And sometimes we can get completely overwhelmed. The story of the hummingbird is about this huge forest being consumed by a fire. All the animals in the forest come out and they are transfixed as they watch the forest burning, and they feel very overwhelmed, very powerless. except this little hummingbird. It says, I'm going to do something about the fire. So it flies to the nearest stream, takes a drop of water, and it puts it on the fire and goes up and down, up and down, up and down, as fast as it can. In the meantime, all the other animals, much bigger animals, like the elephant with a big trunk, could bring much more water. They are standing there helpless, and they are saying to the hummingbird, what do you think you can do? You're too little. This fire is too big. Your wings are too little. And you're big, so small, you can only bring a small drop of water at a time. But as they continue to discourage it, it turns to them without wasting any time and tells them, I am doing the best I can. And that to me is what all of us should do. We should always feel like a hummingbird. I may feel insignificant, but I certainly don't want to be like the animals watching as the planet goes down the drain. I will be a hummingbird. I will do the best I can.
Thanks, Tamara, for sharing that.
Yes, that has become one of my favorites. So thank you. And a shout out to our good friend, Malcolm Staves. How did you meet Malcolm, Melissa?
That's a good question. I think it's through Louise initially, and then through we're on the 1% Safer Foundation. So I think it was through Louise, who I know Louise mentioned this at the start, but it is really an example of women supporting other women and helping to lift each other. So as Louise mentioned, I was new to the UK, kind of getting more familiar with IOSH, and I saw the IOSH mentoring program, so sign up for it because I was in this part of my career where I was, what do I do next? Wanted a change. I wanted to be making an impact in global health and safety space, and connected with Louise. Didn't know she was vice president of IOSH, anything like that. I just loved what she had written on the program, and we connected January last year, and it's just been so inspiring for me, and I've been able to be involved and contribute more than I think I've ever had for the bulk of my career. So Louise is really a champion for collaboration, lifting people up, and she sees the potential in everyone. I know the question was with Malcolm, but then it was through Louise. Malcolm and I would have connected, and Malcolm is absolutely passionate about health and safety, and he is involved in so many different things, and to see a male ally speak out so much in terms of diversity and inclusion is so powerful. I deeply respect and value Malcolm. I mean, it's amazing. And then through that, I connected with you, and it's just been an amazing year, I have to say, personally. So
it's snowballed, and I do have a little video from Malcolm that I wanted to share, if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah.
Hello everyone, I'm Malcolm Staves. I'm the Corporate Health and Safety Director for L'Oreal globally. I'd like to talk to you quickly about a new initiative that we're proud to be part of, and that is the creation of the Global Coalition of Women in Safety Networks. This is a coalition co-founded with Hoskin Associates and chaired by Anne Gardner Aston that brings together influencers and networks in the space of women in safety globally. This is an exciting time, and for us, when we look at this, we think it is the future of where we need to go in the occupational health and safety profession. That is more equality, more diversity, and more inclusion. With these comes better decision making, and that's already known. But within our profession, better decision making means saving more lives, reducing more accidents. So it's got to be a good thing. So thank you very much, and stay safe. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Just continuing with regards to the networks, and I ran through that very quickly. So it's Paula, posted in Canada. We have the Women in Occupational Health and Safety Society. We are in social media, and she shared their website. And I believe that's the group that's having a conference later on today, just when we're finishing ours. Trish mentioned that we have a Women in Process Safety Network. So she also shared the LinkedIn link connection there. Yeah, and Louisa said, kudos to all of the women who are taking a step forward and doing their part to move all of us towards something better.
Now, this is really great. You know, I wanted to go back to the thread because I promised people, Melissa, that we'd look at the thread of the One Wish. So that's #OneWish. And if you're putting your screen captures and stuff there, we're going to be sharing that a little bit so that everybody can have a view about what's going on LinkedIn. So I have my screen share up, and we can see that there's a lot filling up into this space. What great conversations. We have people, oh, there's Trish. Love that conversation with Trish. I really liked how, you know, Trish was talking about leaders providing an environment for people to speak and look at their people fundamentally. That really resonated with me.
Yeah, I think, yeah, the characteristics that Trish highlighted, you know, I mentioned it in her piece, but, you know, there's so much commentary about we cannot go back to where we were, right? Build back better, post the pandemic. Now is the time for us to make the world even better. And I think the characteristics she highlighted, you know, caring for people, being authentic, being humble. I'm not sure if leaders were recognized for being humble in the past, but you're seeing more and more of that being important, as Louise always says, those power skills.
And you know, Trish was talking about doing 100 small things, you know, that you do daily because people are watching and they will reflect on what we're doing as leaders. I think that's a really important takeaway, to remember that when you are out there making decisions.
Agree.
Yeah, and I really like the piece that she brought up about our moral compass and where is that taking us on our journey. So being mindful and leading with intent, that's a powerful message.
Totally agree. I think it's what society is expecting, not only of leaders, but for every individual. But I personally like that what we're benchmarking, what successful leadership looks like is evolving. I think that's really important. So yeah, her piece was very, very powerful.
Yeah, and so it'd be great, Louise, if you could share with us a little bit, how did this all form? How did it get ignited?
Yeah, so I spoke a little bit about this morning, but I mean, I'm so excited about how everything has gone so far this morning. And yes, tomorrow I have been everywhere, so I've literally got about 5 devices on the go to continue to chat to everybody. But just to give you kind of a little bit more about background, you know, this is networking personified, I think, because I don't think we all realize quite how vast our networks can become across our careers. ROSPA is a member of the coalition, and I regularly talk to Dr. Karen McDonnell about this, and she always talks about the fact that, you know, we make friends for life in this profession, and it's not an easy job to be in, is it? Because quite often we're the only one with our skill sets, and I think that if anything has come out of this time, I think we've all appreciated our networks so much more. And the way that this all came about really was, I mean, it started a good few years ago, actually, when I met Malcolm at one of the IOSH conferences, which is why we need to have our physical meetups in the future. But Malcolm and I got chatting, and I work with a school in North London, which is a girls' state school and very diverse. But the leadership team at this school are just phenomenal. And you walk down the corridors of this school, and the corridors are lined by strong female leaders, and they really work hard to aspire the young women that are coming through that school. And you know, and everybody has their own challenges, but they've always inspired me at that school. So I've always, although I was there to do their health and safety, I've been back and talked to them about what being a health and safety professional is like and so on. And I was having a conversation with Malcolm about how we can encourage girls into STEM, so that science, technology, and maths, and you know, how can engineering and maths, how can we encourage women to see that as a career option? And I think it is a good career option if you're coming into health and safety. You know, I certainly did science A-levels at secondary school, and so our plan had been to explore how we could give these, and it wasn't just about health and safety, it was how can we give these young women aspiration, and how can we talk to them about future careers, because I think so often young women don't have that. And so he and I were kind of having this conversation, and they were in London, so how could we connect up what L'Oreal were doing? Because if you think of an organization like that, they've got every job under the sun. But then lockdown happened, and all of the schools, you know, have been very much focused on how do they get through this period right now. So he and I then kind of changed tack, and it was like, well, we're all on the grindstone, and we started to have conversations about women in safety, because every year for International Women's Day, you know, as part of the IOSH presidential team, I've always felt like we should market in health and safety. I've been a member of IOSH since 1999, and I don't think the percentage of women in IOSH has changed that much. So I'm on a real mission to create greater visibility of what we do, because I strongly believe if you can see it, you can be it. And there's, you know, and that's today personified. So Malcolm and I started having this conversation, and actually some of it was from FundMe in Africa. So she'd created her African network, and Malcolm said to me, well, I know somebody in South Africa, why don't I connect her? So we connected those two together. And then he and I said, well, I know this person. And he was like, well, I know this person. And before we knew it, we had actually created the coalition very, very quickly. Elliot, I don't know if you've got the slide that's got the coalition members on it, but I know from the chat, people have been asking who is in the coalition, what are the coalition members, and currently these are our coalition members. So the idea is that we're, you know, and there is a brilliant clip that Melissa's recorded all about this that perhaps we can play over this lunch break.
Yeah.
And it's very much about individuals finding the network that suits them. And you can see that quite a few of these people are speaking today. I mean, Trish's talk today was phenomenal, and actually
phenomenal. And you know, I was thinking that, you know, what Trish brought up about you know, our moral compass, I think that what you and Malcolm did in kicking off, especially with the leadership program for the women, Maybe we could
Yes.
dive in to that a little bit more, because that is even something that we can be doing inside of our own organizations.
Yeah. Oh, I'm
To
so
bring out
excited
women.
about this as well. So the thing is I have too many ideas and not enough time a lot of the time. But yeah, I mean, again, this is what we're trying to get over. You know, it's about turning thoughts into action, I think, and I think we can all do that. So yeah, thanks for that prompt, Tamara. So this really came about. So IOSH Leading Safely course is, I think it's an amazing course. I've always used it with, I work predominantly with small and medium-sized companies, and I've always encouraged the managing directors and the directors that we work with to actually be on that course. And it's not a this is health and safety course, it's a what are my qualities as a leader and how do they influence the way that I manage risk, and how do I create a strategy for my organization, how do I see health and safety in the same way that I see marketing or accounting or finance or all of these other aspects that make a business. So we very much got talking again about this, and I was like, well, I'll run a Leading Safely course for women. So Malcolm had some money in his budget at the end of last year, and we decided to do it in partnership with ROSPA. So L'Oreal and ROSPA have a fantastic partnership already. So ROSPA, again, Dr. Karen McDonnell helped us to promote that, and we took this fantastic, it was phenomenal, session with these 6 women, and ROSPA are going to be following their journey. So we're gonna take that and take those 6 women and follow their journeys. We're going to match them up with mentors, because for me, you know, women in leadership, quite often we're held back by ourselves, I think. And
I think we're held back by a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And what I liked about the what you were doing is, if you remember, Trish was saying to create an environment for people to speak. And so this is one of the ways that as leaders, we can actually walk the talk and help create those safe spaces.
Yeah, and I mean, because of the nature of what we do, I mean, I'm usually the only woman in the room quite often when I'm involved in work, and I've never taken one of those sessions like that. And I think the women in that group were able to sort of open up and really delve into their personal drivers and what they felt were, you know, what's holding me back. But actually, when we talked about what's great about them, that list was much longer. And so we were able to focus on that and explore the strategy. And it has been a great success. So I actually took the Leading Safely syllabus and tweaked it to suit health and safety professionals. And so it has been a huge success, and we're going to be running that course again. So as I've kind of put in the chat, if people want to find me on LinkedIn and just direct message me their email address, we will let you know how to apply. So again, we're going to be running another 6 courses. You know, it may well become a thing that we do. So basically we ask people to let us know, you know, why should you be considered for this session? And, you know, what's the difference that it's going to make to you? And it's all about creating that pipeline. I'm going to become president of IOSH at the end of this year, and I want to know that there's some really strong women that are going to come up behind me. So I want to be holding the door open for everybody.
And it goes back to what Asani was saying in the beginning about closing the gap and changing views and values, right? And we do that through creating opportunities for discussions.
Absolutely.
Like what these women are getting exposed to, with the hope that then it just doesn't stay siloed, that you branch out and you start doing these within your own networks, your own organizations.
I hate
that's
silos.
What change is about.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about silos a lot. I mean, I keep telling everybody that when I'm done in the presidential team with IOSH, I want to join the railways group because I've never done railways. And you know something, you know, the limit to what we can achieve is in our imagination, it's in our minds. And I've always believed that I can do anything a little bit. And then I get to points and I think, why am I doing this? This morning, just before we were starting, I was really nervous about how it was going to go, but it's just been, you know, the speakers we've had on this morning have been phenomenal. We've got some amazing speakers this afternoon. So yeah, I think we limit ourselves by our own imagination. And how can the coalition come together as a group? I mean, for me, this is just phenomenal. We've literally linked up networks very, very quickly from around the world. We are having quarterly meetings of the networks. We had the first one in January, which I know you guys were at, and that was 2 hours long. We had, was it Trish was in Australia on like it starts at 11 p.m. for her, and I think was it Eldine at 4 or 5 in the morning in North America. And I mean, it must have been early for you as well. Tamara was up at 4 or 5 this morning to do this. So, you know, we linked up all of those time zones, and we're, you know, we are treading forward very carefully because we want the right networks. It is a humble project. It's brand free. You know, we very much, it's about encouraging women, and we're not dictating to the people that are within those networks. So I mean, you heard from Heather earlier on. Heather's UK network is really strong. They're getting really well organized. So if people are in the UK, they can look at Heather's networks. We heard from Paula about the network in Canada, which we're going to hand over to. We're going to hear this afternoon from CSSE, and ASSP has WISE, which is Women in Safety Excellence. So what we're doing is we're really linking all of those different networks, and we're also looking at how we can bring in corporations. So I can't remember how many health and safety professionals Malcolm says he's got in his team, but there's organisations with a lot of health and safety professionals in their teams that are doing some phenomenal work. We regularly end up talking about PPE, and I've been talking to Multiplex, which is a big corporate construction company this week, about the work that they're doing in respect to PPE. And this is, you know, how we can take a topic, put it into the coalition and say, right, you know, what do you know? What have you been doing about this? And you know, we've got this really strong voice because, you know, we have no boundaries at the moment, and let's grab this time and this opportunity. But you know, something about health and safety, it's the same stuff that kills people. It's we might have different regulatory frameworks, but we all have the same end game. And so I'm massively excited about what we can do as a coalition.
Yeah, we've got a comment by Louise Nar also. Whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can be achieved. So thank you for adding that. That is great. Great. We've got a lot of great chats coming out. women empowering women, power us back to build back better.
Oh, that was me. I put that in there.
Oh, is that you? Oh, I
Yeah.
like that one. I like that one.
So
I
just
told
like-
you, Louise is everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know how Louise does it in terms of like 5 devices and so on. Very impressive. But something you said, Louise, I just wanted to add to, and then I had a question or wanted to pivot to something that I think I'm passionate on, but I think it's something I have to work on more. But to me, knowledge is power. So I think, the piece around the sharing and collaborating will help lift others. And even if you're more evolved, I think you can still learn from others. Yeah.
I mean, wasn't Dr. Rossini this morning phenomenal? I mean, that's such a good example of, I mean, that story is great, how I met those guys, because I went over to Sri Lanka. It was my husband's 50th actually, and he loves cricket. And he did remind me that we've had all the cricket this morning. So we've had Australia, we had Trish in Australia, we had Sebastian in India, we had Dr. Rossini in Sri Lanka. So he reminded me of that this morning. But we went over to Sri Lanka, and we saw some cricket over in Sri Lanka actually. And I said to the team at IOSH, and I left it kind of to the last minute. I said, do you know anyone, what members have we got in Sri Lanka? And can I, I'm going over there. I was a vice president at the time, and can I meet them? And Vince was the then president, and he had some connections over there. So I actually met the members of WSHA over in Sri Lanka whilst I was on holiday, and we had like this 2 or 3 hour lunch, and I just learned so much about the phenomenal work that organization is doing in a country that is a developing nation. But as those kind of organizations and countries come through and they put all of these safety arrangements in place, something, they can teach the rest of us a thing or two as well. So it's not necessarily, it's how we learn from each other. And I guess that's at the heart of this coalition. And it's brand new. I have no idea where it's going to go, and sometimes perhaps we overplan these things, and I'm not sure it would have happened in the same way if it hadn't have been for the fact that we're all talking like this on a virtual frame.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I'm also seeing people in the chat who have connected with one another and helped each other out. We have one individual, thanking another person because they helped pass their CMIOSH peer interview. So it's really good to see those kind of comments where people are leveraging their networks.
It's phenomenal. And the CIEH is another one for me. So the Chartered Institute of Environmental Health. I began my career as an environmental health officer. And so I'm speaking to them tomorrow, and one of the questions to them is going to be, how long have I been a member? Because I think I joined them as a member when I was a student, so it's going to be 30 plus years. And so for me to have the CIEH as a coalition member is really exciting. And environmental health professionals around the world have been working their socks off in all of this. So actually I'm talking to them tomorrow, and again, it's just all networking. If those of us on this call can create new connections and the coalition can support that, we will unblock this pipeline into leadership which exists for women in health and safety.
Which goes into the other question I wanted to ask, which was around, well, not ask, but for us to talk a bit about in terms of the younger people and building that pipeline for health and safety. And us making health and safety an attractive career. Because for myself, for example, I started off in engineering, but I fell in love with health and safety because I got the opportunity to work in the North Sea where, you know, Piper Alpha had happened, etc. And I'm not sure if a lot of engineers would, for example, would want to go into health and safety, or even the younger people want to go into health and safety. Do they see it as attractive, etc.? So I like that Heather's network, of which I'm a part of, has a work stream related to around getting young people interested in the discipline.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the networks that we're working with, so IOSH has got a future leaders community. And what we need to do is we need to empower those future leaders communities, because I'm getting quite old now, and actually, if we're going to reach out to the next generation, shouldn't the younger generation in our profession be doing that? Because they certainly know best. There's also a whole community. So Jimmy Quinn, who's current IOSH president, is really pushing for is supporting veterans and people coming into health and safety as a second career. And I think, you know, we talk about all of these great attributes, but what an amazing varied job we all have, where we can go into any sector and work. And you know what? We need diversity because we need every single type of person.
But Louise, I wonder if people even know about health and safety. Like, I don't think we do enough public relations about it being a career opportunity, because I know for me, I didn't learn about it until I was in my 35s years old, and I had already been in the workforce since I was 16. So how can I come out into the workforce where there's something meant to protect our health and safety, but not even know about it for that long?
Well, let's ask the chat.
Yeah, well, actually, a couple of things came up here in terms of Christine has said, I don't think a lot of young people know about health and safety. And Malcolm said health and safety should be taught in schools like environment. So when I went to school, environment wasn't taught. I mean, I guess maybe some of the social science, but I think, yeah, it is part of that, starting it from in schools and it also being seen as an exciting and rewarding career versus being a YouTuber.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to change the narrative. We need to see this as a purpose-driven career, which it is. I mean, I have an article on my LinkedIn page that's all about climbing a mountain, and you know, sometimes we don't look back and see what we have achieved. And I think that if I was to ask absolutely any person on this call, and actually perhaps that's a nice thing to roll around in the chat, you know, what is it that you have achieved that's really made a difference? Every single person on this call will have something that they did that made a difference. And when you make a difference, you're saving lives. You know, people are going to reach their retirement healthy and well and able to play sports with their grandkids in the park, you know. And so we don't celebrate that enough. So perhaps it's all about celebrating success, you know, and that's what we wanted today to be about, a celebration of success.
And now I wanted to call Anne out. I know she's hidden behind her camera, but come on out, because you were putting in the chat about career bundles for school. Can you maybe dig into that?
Yeah, this is something we were talking about with the UK Women in Safety Network, and we've just started having a chat around how we can do some influencing in this area. And as Heather said in her little video earlier, one of our colleagues, Aoife Devaney, who works for a large construction company in the UK, has taken on the role of running with this project. And, you know, to be fair, it's in its early stages, but what we are looking at is how to present health and safety in all of its many forms as a viable option for particularly school leavers or people at the point at which they'll be choosing, you know, their A levels or their trades or you know, whatever it is. So that sort of 14 to 16 age bracket probably, which is a key area, I think, when people are sort of looking at what's open to them out there. And health and safety is one of those occupations that, you know, you can start at the bottom. You don't need to transition into it from something else, although I know many people do. It's picked up as a sort of sideline job in amongst a wider job and becomes a career path from there. But we certainly want to start presenting it as an option right from the get-go. And I think where we're getting to with it is how can we reach the maximum number of school leavers or that age bracket, you know, without spreading ourselves too thinly, because we all go in and do a presentation if we were asked to, that's not a problem. But how can we maybe produce some content in a way that young people will engage with, that then opens this up? So, you know, nice snippets of video content, you know, people who are, you know, perhaps just only slightly older than them, who have gone into the workforce in a health and safety capacity. So that's what we're looking at the moment. And I think it's very viable that we can present this, you know, as a bundle to schools and colleges and so on, to say, look, this is also something you can pursue. And allied to that, and I think where we're bringing this in also into the UK network thinking, we have a project running in the UK called LOCA, which is learning occupational safety and health through, it's the other way around, through experiencing risk.
They make it fun.
Yeah. You know what I'm hearing here? I know we have to wrap it up because time is ticking off, and we got to hand it to Melissa because we got another great speaker, but I'm hearing a podcast.
Possibly.
That's where you come in tomorrow.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Podcast. Okay, Melissa, I'm going to hand it off to you. This has been a great lunch chat. Thank you.
No, thanks, Tamara, and I agree with that in terms of the podcast. As you know, as I mentioned before, I've been a fan and follower of the ones you've done, and there are many others as well. I think there is something there about getting the younger generation into health and safety. So it's a really powerful topic. So I think that's one for us as the coalition, Louise, to look into. Good. I'm actually going to hand over to Elliot so that we can transition, so we can start back at 1 with Karen presentation. So Elliot, I guess we'll take a break for now, and we'll be back at 1 p.m. UK time. Okay. Thanks very much, everyone, and thanks, Tamara. Great session.